I just got back from watching Terrifier 3, which is probably one of the most messed up scary movies I've ever seen. So let's talk about it. I had a lot of different expectations going into this movie. I knew that it had gained a lot of followers and that it was doing well in the box office. I went the second weekend it was released, so I saw that it outpaced Joker 2 and was sitting at the top of the box office that weekend. So I had a lot of expectations, and I know Damien Leone prides himself on having content that is really out there and crazy. So even before going into the theater, I was a little anxious. I want to talk about some of the kills in the movie, particularly the deaths of the children. I was first expecting the movie to be a lot more gruesome and more brutal, with the kids actually being killed in front of us. I thought we were going to actually see the kids being dismembered or chopped up, whatever it might be, live. If you remember in the first trailer, we saw the little girl walk down the stairs and say, Santa, Santa. And I was getting the impression by the way Art had his axe wielded and was kind of laughing, was that she was going to get destroyed right in front of our eyes. And I was kind of preparing for that. But I guess Damien Leone did a bait and switch and did the kills off screen, which I thought was a little more tasteful and I thought was probably a better move, because there may have been people who've gotten really offended and really upset with that, even though they should kind of know what kind of movie they're getting involved in. There are people who will get offended by that, and rightfully so. Some of those kills on a little girl or a little boy is a hard line for a lot of people. So I guess Damien Leone was being mindful of that. But that really surprised me that we didn't actually see the kids get chopped up or get destroyed in front of our eyes. I think the kills happening off screen was just enough for Damien Leone to get his point across of how brutal and sadistic Art was, that he has no bounds and that he is this aggressive, relentless character. And we didn't need to see the children die on screen. And I know Damien Leone originally had a lot more grander plans, if you will, for more gruesome scenes that were ultimately scraped, and that could have been something that he does in a future movie. But he really got his point across without having to do that. The movie's runtime of 2 hours was perfect. I mean, most scary movies now are just an hour and a half, and sometimes they're even less than that. But those full 2 hours felt very meaningful, and there wasn't a wasted minute, which is really rare for scary movies because sometimes you need to have useless character development or whatsoever. But this did a good job in 2 hours and kept it entertaining in parts that are challenging for some directors to keep them entertaining. For example, when Sienna was at the dinner table with her aunt and her family, all of a sudden you see her dead friend appear in front of her, which is, I guess, some form of survivor guilt, psychosis that she's having. And that was a nice little addition that Damien Leone had. It could have just been a normal dinner, but it wasn't. And that's what made it so nice. And those kind of moments that Damien Leone incorporated throughout the movie kept the movie entertaining and added, for the first time in this series, some kind of commentary on mental health issues and something bigger than just slashing. Something I wanted to talk about that doesn't have to do with the plot itself, but more of a moral question, is Greg's behavior. I really wanted to see Greg's death on screen, but we didn't get to see it. And I was like, oh, I really wanted him to die because he just was so inconsiderate and so rude by the way he was treating Sienna, never really embracive or helping her want to change. And I would think if I was an uncle and I had a niece who had gone through traumatic events and is on antipsychotics and so forth, that I would be a source of inspiration and light for her to change. But then I thought about it more, and I thought to myself, if I was a father, my priority would be my family. It would be my kids, it would be my wife. And if I have someone in my house who's acting erratic, just got out of a mental institution, is taking antipsychotics, I'm just looking at the facts, right? And they're at my house scaring my daughter and saying things that are very unnormal, then maybe I would be a little bit more aggressive and say something like, I don't feel comfortable with this person staying at my house. And I think protection for a family, especially a daughter, is something that is a non-negotiable for a lot of people. And that's something that's a total normal reaction to have. And so as I thought about more his actions, I thought they were more justified and they weren't as bad as what I once first thought. The movie had a lot of great parts going for it. The one thing that I would say I wasn't personally a fan of was the whole demon resurrection and the sinking into the ground. I mean, I just can't get behind that. I think the Terrifier series does so well in its slasher and gruesomeness that it should double down on that and not talk about the demon and the resurrection and the white pale girl. And I mean, all these other characters seem really useless and irrelevant to me. And I know that there needs to be some kind of explanation for how Art gets resurrected and what his backstory is, but I think that they can work on that part. I can't think of something to say right now about what that would look like or how I would do it differently, but at the end, when all that nonsense was happening, I just thought to myself, I said, they can work on this part. But that's a small thing to work on in the grand scheme of a very successful franchise that kind of came out of nowhere on, I think, a $2 million budget and now made $18 million in opening weekend. I mean, it's really been breaking a lot of records. So that's just a small kind of room for improvement that I would say. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed this content, give me a like and subscribe. And let me know if you liked the movie and what parts really resonated with you.